Joe can't stop thinking about Bronte, but he refuses to leave his marriage, especially for Henry's sake. Henry likes his new therapist, George, and Joe feels okay with how things are going. Meanwhile, Kate keeps her distance and wants to fire Regan for stealing money. Joe sees a chance to use that as a cover for his plan to switch Regan with her twin, Maddie. Maddie doesn't believe she can pretend to be Regan. She feels like the weaker sister. Joe tries to convince her by promising access to Harrison and his money if she cancels the prenup as Regan. Joe remains distracted by Bronte, agreeing to the bookstore despite her cold demeanor. She thinks he's upset due to earlier flirting. He mentions he's excited for his serial killer story. However, she backs off when uncertain. Kate confronts Regan about the embezzlement, but she fiercely defends herself. She knows Joe killed Reese and Bob, and she has security footage and the autopsy coming. She tells Kate to resign or she'll expose everything. Later, Bronte asks Joe to read her new story about toxic love based on her ex. Joe likes it but wants to kill the guy. Bronte doesn't mind. She thinks bad people deserve to be punished. She talks about how Regan is chaotic evil, and it inspires Joe to train Maddie to act like her twin. He pushes Maddie, even mocking her, and tells her to use her pain like Regan does. But things fall apart when Kate tells Joe she's resigning because of Regan's threats. Joe suggests killing Regan, but Kate refuses. She feels guilty about Bob and tells Joe he can't be controlled. Bronte, however, seems to accept who Joe really is, so he decides to follow his own path. That night, Joe tries to kill Regan, but she's stronger than he expected. She unmasks him and guesses Kate sent him. Joe knocks her out but decides not to kill her yet. Upstairs, Bronte finds Joe's smut writing about her and feels uncomfortable. Downstairs, Maddie cries. Joe now wants her to kill Regan to prove she's loyal. Maddie says no, but Joe reminds her that Regan never cared about her. Regan wakes up and cruelly mocks Maddie, saying she always loved someone else more. Meanwhile, Teddy begs Kate to tell him what's going on. He thinks Joe is involved, but Kate refuses to say anything. During the bookstore opening, Joe and Bronte share a moment. Things go wrong when Clayton gets aggressive with Bronte. Joe steps in and beats him up. Bronte, shaken, tells Joe they can't have an affair, not after what she read. Joe agrees and goes back downstairs. He finds Maddie has killed Regan with an insulin shot. The next morning, Kate gets ready to resign. But Maddie, now pretending to be Regan, announces her own resignation and takes control of her sister's shares. They bring Teddy into their plan. But Kate doesn't believe Joe's version of events. Joe finally admits his marriage is over. As Bronte comes to say goodbye, Joe stops her, and this time, they finally give in to each other.